something unspoken. The characters in this one act play: Miss Cornelia Scott, Miss Grace Lancaster. Miss Cornelia Scott. She is 60 years old, a wealthy southern spinster. A wealthy spinster, an unmarried woman. Miss Grace Lancaster is her secretary. When the play opens, we see Miss Cornelia Scott seated at a small mahogany table which is set for two, meant for herself and her secretary. The other place not yet occupied has a single rose in a crystal vase before it. Cornelia's position at the table is flanked by a cradle phone, a silver tray of mail, and an ornate silver coffee urn. So, there is a flower vase on this table. There is a rose in the vase. So rose is a symbol of love. It is there in the place where Grace Lancaster is. So this mahogany table is meant for two people to sit. There are only two chairs. Miss Cornelia Scott is seated in one and the other is not occupied. Miss Grace Lancaster, she is living in the same house. She did not wake up until now. In the place where Miss Grace Lancaster is to sit, there is placed a vase, a flower vase with a rose in it. Rose is a symbol of love. That rose was put there by Miss Cornelia Scott to express her affection for her secretary. Cornelia's position at the table is flanked by a cradle phone, a silver tray of mail, and an ornament silver coffee urn, an ornate silver coffee urn. These things are there. An imperial touch is given by purple velvet drapes directly behind her figure at the table. So an imperial touch, a majestic royal touch is given by the purple velvet drapes. Drapes is the cloth covering. A very elegant majestic curtains. So these things give it a very imperial touch. A console phonograph is at the edge of lighted area. Console phonograph. It is a gramophone record player. At the rise of the curtain, she is dialing a number on the phone. So when the curtain rises, we see Cornelia Scott dialing a number on the phone. Usually it is the secretary who calls others for Cornelia Scott, but there is something urgent. That's why Cornelia Scott herself is dialing the number. She is trying to make a call because her secretary is still in bed. So Cornelia is calling a lady, Mrs. Horton Reed. Mrs. Horton Reed. You can see that Cornelia Scott is a very active member of the association, the Women's Association, Confederate Daughters. It is an association of women who descended from the leaders, the women leaders of American Civil War. So Cornelia Scott is an active member, and also she is an office bearer of that association, Confederate Daughters. That day is the day for annual election of this association. Annual election is going to be held on that day of the local chapter of the association. But Miss Cornelia Scott does not go to the meeting that day. She pretends to have sore throat, a throat infection, and she is informing the important members of the association about her absence. She will not be present in the meeting because of her throat infection. That's the reason that she gives for her absence. Even though it is an important day for the association, when the annual meeting is held, it is the day for the election to the important offices of the association. She herself was an office bearer. That's what she tells Mrs. Horton Reed. So she pretends to be her secretary. She is calling, she is speaking in the voice of her secretary. She pretends as if it is the secretary who is calling. So she is impersonating her secretary. Pretending to be another person, that is impersonate. She is speaking in the voice of her secretary. She woke up. Miss Scott is sorry that she will not be able to attend the meeting of the Confederate Daughters this afternoon, as she woke up this morning with a sore throat and has to remain in bed. And will you kindly give her apologies to Mrs. Reid for not letting her know sooner. So she wants to give her apologies to Mrs. Reid for not letting her know about this sooner. It is at this time Grace Lancaster enters. Grace Lancaster enters at this time, and Cornelia is angry with Grace Lancaster for not waking up early. She expresses her displeasure about this. Miss Cornelia Scott is making one more call. It is to Miss Esmeralda Hawkins, her residence, asking her. She is calling Miss Scott would like to leave a word for Miss Esmeralda Hawkins to call her as soon as she arrives. She leaves a message. She doesn't get Esmeralda Hawkins. She leaves a message asking her to call her back as soon as she arrives. Miss Esmeralda Hawkins is her close friend in the association. Her intimate friend, Miss Esmeralda Hawkins. Even though she does not go to the association that day, she is very eager to know what is taking place, what is happening that day. That's why she wants to call Miss Esmeralda Hawkins. These calls she makes pretending to be her secretary, impersonating her secretary, as if the secretary is making the call. And Miss Cornelia Scott expresses her displeasure at the fact that she has to make the call impersonating her secretary, as she did not get up early. Then Grace Lancaster, her secretary, says, "The light was so dim, it didn't wake me up." Grace appearance, she is 40 or 45, faded, but still pretty. Her blonde hair graying slightly her pale eyes. Her thin figure in a pink silk dressing gown gives her an insubstantial quality in sharp contrast to Cornelia's Roman grandeur. So compared to Cornelia, even though she is 60 years old, Cornelia, she has a Roman grandeur, the dignity of a Roman. Miss Cornelia Scott has such a grandeur. But compared to her, Grace Lancaster looks insubstantial. Insubstantial means unimportant. Unimportant. Roman grandeur. There is between the two women a mysterious tension, an atmosphere of something unspoken. So the play tells us about the relationship between these two women. Miss Cornelia Scott, the wealthy lady, and also Grace Lancaster, a widow who is her secretary. They are living in the same house. Grace Lancaster has been her secretary for 15 years. She has been living with Cornelia Scott for 15 years. Then there is a conversation. Cornelia says she has already opened the mail. She has done what the secretary should do. Cornelia Scott has already opened the mail. Then Grace asks, anything of interest, Cornelia? a card from Thelma Peterson at Mayos. Mayos is a famous hospital. So Cornelia says that there was a card from Thelma Peterson from the hospital. So in the mail there is this card from Thelma Peterson. So guys, how is Thelma? Cornelia, she says she is progressing nicely, whatever that indicates. Grace, didn't she have something remote? Miss Thelma Peterson has undergone a surgery. It is about this that they are talking. Anything from her body has been removed, Grace is asking. Then Cornelia says several things. Several things have been removed from her body. Grace, here is the fortnightly review of current letters. In the mail there is also another thing. It is a magazine, the name of a magazine, Fortnightly Review of Current Letters. That's the name of the magazine that Cornelia has subscribed to. Cornelia Scott has subscribed to this magazine, but she says that she has stopped the subscription, cancelled the subscription. She has a reason to do so. Cornelia Scott wonders, even after she cancelled the subscription, why they sent this magazine to them again. Much to my astonishment, I thought I had cancelled my subscription to that publication. Grace, really, Cornelia? Cornelia, surely you remember I cancelled my subscription immediately after the issue came out with that scurrilous attack on my cousin Cecil Titwear Bates. Cornelia explains the reason why she cancelled the subscription of this magazine. Because an article appeared in the magazine criticizing Cornelia's cousin. Cornelia Scott's cousin is a novelist. So this magazine published an article or something attacking this novelist who is Cornelia Scott's cousin. Cornelia Scott believes that her cousin novelist is the only dignified novelist the South has produced since Thomas Nelson Page. The only dignified novelist the South has produced since Thomas Nelson Page. So it was a scurrilous attack, scurrilous, using vulgar language, scurrilous. So when such an attack, an article attacking her cousin novelist in vulgar language appeared in this magazine, she decided to cancel the subscription because she believes that her cousin is a great novelist, the only dignified novelist the South has produced since Thomas Nelson Page. After Thomas Nelson Page, her cousin is the only dignified novelist. That's what Cornelia believes. Then Grace says, "Oh, yes, I do remember. You wrote a furious letter of protest to the editor of the magazine, and you received such a conciliatory reply from an associate editor named Caroline something or other that you were completely mollified and cancelled the cancellation." So Grace says, "Now I remember that you wrote a furious letter of protest to the editor. To the editor of the magazine, you wrote an angry letter of protest. And you received such a conciliatory reply. You received a friendly reply, conciliatory reply from the associate editor. Then you became mollified. Mollified means softened. You softened, then you became pacified, and you changed your mind and cancelled the cancellation. You decided to continue the subscription. You decided to continue the subscription after you received a conciliatory reply from the associate editor." Grace says, "I remember it well now." Cornelia, "I have never been mollified by conciliatory replies." Cornelia Scott does not like these words of Grace Lancaster. She says that she is not of such a nature to be pacified, to be softened by a conciliatory reply from anyone. She cannot be pacified by such a letter. When if she has taken a decision, she will not go back on that decision. That's what Cornelia Scott says. Never completely and never even partially. She will never be pacified. She will never become softened. Never completely and never even partially. Nothing can change her decision. If she has taken a decision to stop the subscription, she will not change her mind. That's what Cornelia Scott says. And if I wrote to the editor-in-chief and was answered by an associate editor, my reaction to that piece of impertinence would hardly be what you call mollified. So she does not like the words of Grace Lancaster, that she changed her mind when she received a reply from the associate editor. She also says that if she wrote the letter to the chief editor, if she wrote the letter to the chief editor should himself give the reply, not the associate editor. So she can never be mollified. She will never become soft when she receives such a letter. Now Grace Lancaster tries to change the subject, speaking about the musical compositions, musical collection that they have. Here is the new catalogue from the gramophone shop in Atlanta. There is a catalogue of the musical compositions. Catalog of the records from the gramophone shop in Atlanta. Cornelia concealing a paint. Yes, there it is. Grace, I see you have checked several items. So Grace is asking which musical compositions are to be checked, to be ticked in the catalogue. Some music composers' names are mentioned, like Sibelius. Sibelius is a music composer from Finland. Sibelius. Grace says, you have checked a Sibelius that we already have. Grace tells Cornelia that she has checked, she has ticked in the catalogue Sibelius, but they already have his collections. Cornelia says it's getting a little bit scratchy. She becomes forgetful these days. Grace, I adore phonograph records. Cornelia, I wish you adored them enough to put them back in their proper places in albums. Cornelia says, if you take these records, you should put them back in the right proper place. So Vivaldi is an Italian music composer. Vivaldi. I think Vivaldi is a very thin shadow of Bach. Cornelia is not interested in Vivaldi. She says Vivaldi is a very thin shadow of Bach. Grace, how strange that I should have the impression you. So at this time, the phone rings. The phone rings at this time. Grace attends the phone. Miss Scott's residence. This announcement is made in a tone of reverence, respect. So she is speaking with a great respect when the name of Miss Cornelia Scott is uttered. So it was a call from Esmeralda Hawkins. Esmeralda Hawkins, who is a close friend of Cornelia Scott in the association. Cornelia Scott has called her earlier and she is calling back. Cornelia Scott is attending the call. I have been expecting her call. Esmeralda, my dear, I have been expecting your call. Now, where are you calling me from? Of course, I know that you are calling me from the meeting. Savo sans dear. Savo sans dear. Ma petite. It is a French expression. Sava som dear. Ma petite. It means it goes without saying, my little one. It goes without saying, my little one. So, Cornelia asks Grace Lancaster from where she is calling. There are two phones in that building. One is upstairs and the other is downstairs. Now, where are you calling me from? I know, of course, I know that you are calling me from the meeting. But from which phone in the house? There is two, you know. The one in the downstairs hall, and the one in the Chatelain's boudoir. Chatelain's boudoir. Boudoir means private room. Boudoir, private room. Chatelaine means mistress of a chateau. Chateau means a large building. Chateau. Chatelaine, mistress of a chateau. So she means that there are two phones in this Confederate daughter's office. One downstairs and one upstairs. Which phone is she using? One in the downstairs hall and the one in the Chatelain's boudoir, where the ladies will probably be removing their wraps. You are on the downstairs, are you? Well, by this time I presume that practically all the daughters have assembled. The members of the Confederate daughters. It is an association of women who descended from the leaders who participated in the American Civil War. Confederate daughters. Its members are called daughters. So she says that in the downstairs it will be very noisy. She has something private to speak to Grace Lancaster. So she must go upstairs, use upstairs, the phone in the upstairs. Now go upstairs and call me back from there so we can talk with a little more privacy, dear, as I want to make my position very clear before the meeting commences. Even though she does not go to the Confederate daughters meeting that day, she is very eager to know what is happening in the meeting. That's why she called Esmeralda Hawkins. She says that she has something private to speak to Miss Esmeralda Hawkins. She wants to make her position clear. You can see that Miss Cornelia Scott has held various positions in the association, various posts she has held. So she says that she has to make her stand clear. So Miss Esmeralda Hawkins should call her back from the upstairs using the phone in the upstairs room. So listening to this conversation, Grace asks, about the election. Grace Lancaster asked Cornelius Scott whether it is the day of annual elections. Cornelia says they are holding the annual elections today. Then Grace asks her why she did not go to the meeting on such an important day. Then Cornelia's reply is, I preferred not to go. I don't want to go. I preferred not to go. Then Cornelia explains the reason why she did not want to go to the meeting that day. So Cornelia says, intrigue and duplicity revolted me so that I wouldn't be able to breathe in the same atmosphere. So intrigue. So conspiracy, there is a conspiracy against her in the association. In the local chapter of Confederate Daughters, there is intrigue, secret plans, duplicity, double dealing. Such things are practiced by some women in the association. Why are you ringing that bell? At this time, Grace drops a spoon. Then she rings for the servant. Cornelia says that the servant is off that day. The servant is not in the house. There is no need to ring the bell. The servant's name is Lucinda. Where has Lucinda gone? Cornelia says. Cornelia's reply is, there is a big colored funeral in town. She is whispering to Grace that there is a colored funeral. Funeral means burying the dead. Colored. Funeral of the black people. She has gone to attend the funeral of black people. That is colored funeral. Grace says, oh dear, you have that nervous laryngitis, throat infection, laryngitis. Cornelius, no sleep last night. I couldn't sleep well last night. Then phone rings again. Cornelius thinks that this call is made by her friend Esmeralda Hawkins. She goes to attend to the phone, but it was not Esmeralda Hawkins, but another woman, Mrs. C.C. Bright. It was a call from Mrs. C.C. Bright. Then Cornelia is angry with Grace for giving her phone to Cornelia. She is not interested in speaking to that woman. Anyway, Cornelia attends the phone, and what is she speaking? No, I am afraid my garden will not be open to the pilgrims this spring. Mrs. C.C. Bright has called her to ask her permission to let the pilgrims to visit her garden. Pilgrims is a patriotic society who descended from the founders of America. The founders of America, pilgrims. Mrs. C.C. Bright seeks her permission to let the pilgrims, some pilgrims want to visit her garden. Will she give permission? That's what she is asking. But Cornelia says that she will not give permission to the pilgrims to visit her garden because, what is the reason? I am afraid that my garden will not be open to the pilgrim this spring. I think the cultivation of gardens is an aesthetic hobby and not a competitive sport. Individual visitors will be welcome if they call in advance so that I can arrange for my gardener to show them around. But no bands of pilgrims, not after the devastation my garden suffered last spring. Why she does not give permission to the pilgrims to visit her garden? The reason she gives: in the last year, some pilgrims visited her garden and they did a lot of damage to the garden because they have come with dogs. They have come with dogs to the garden, and also they have picked flowers without permission. So this year she will not give permission to these pilgrims. Individual visitors are welcome. Individual visitors are welcome, but the pilgrims, after this destruction they caused to the garden last spring, she says she cannot give permission. Pilgrims are coming with the dogs, picking flowers. That's what she says. So Grace again mentions the election to the conflict daughters. Election to the important post in the association. Grace says that Cornelia should have gone to the meeting that day because she suffers from great strain because of that. She is very nervous about what is going to happen in the meeting. Actually, she has an eye on the highest post in the confederate daughters. The highest post, that is the regent, the position of the regent. She was not interested in campaigning for this. She does not want to contest. She wanted others to unanimously elect her and unanimously make her the regent. That's what she expects. She felt that her absence will have more effect. They will take this decision. They will nominate her. That's what she expects. Cornelia Scott tells Grace that she is not actually interested in holding any office. She is not actually interested in holding any office. So she does not want to run for an office. She holds an office, a position in the association, only at the insistence of the members, only if she is compelled, only because she is compelled to hold a position, then only she has held any position in the association. She doesn't want to contest. She wants to be nominated. I really have an aversion to holding office. Aversion. Strong feeling of dislike. Aversion. Actually, I hate to hold any office. Actually, I hate to hold any office in the association. Only on compulsion, only at the insistence of the members that I hold any position. But this is a different thing altogether. It's a test of something. You see, I have known for some time now that there is a little group, a clique, the daughters, which is hostile to me. This time it is different, she says, because there is a group of women in the association, in the local chapter, who are acting against me, who are moving against me, who are hostile to me. They don't like me. So there is a group, a clique in the daughters. They want me out of any important positions. Then she says, there is an organized movement to keep me out of any important office. I have never been regent. Then Grace asks Cornelia whether she has held important positions, important offices in the chapter, in the local chapter of the Confederate Daughters. Did she hold some important positions? Then Cornelia says she has not become regent. Regent is the highest position in the organization. Regent, that is the highest position. Then Grace asks, you want to be regent? Cornelia, no, you misunderstand me. I don't want to be regent. But she does not admit that she has an eye on this position. She wants to be regent. She is not going to admit it. Cornelia, I don't want to be anything whatsoever. I simply want to break up this movement. It is not to become the regent, but just to crush this movement against me. Just to break up this movement against me. That I also rally my forces. I gather my supporters. Only because I want to crush this move against me. Your forces, her lips twitch slightly as if she impulse to smile. Cornelia says there are some women who support Cornelia Scott. With their help, she is trying to crush this move against her, to keep her out of all the important positions, all the important offices. Cornelia says, I have the solid support of all the older board members. Older members will support me. There are some new members who are against me, who are hostile to me. They want to keep me out of all the important positions. Grace. Why then I should think you have nothing to worry about, Cornelia? The chapter has expanded too rapidly lately. Women have been admitted that couldn't get into a front pew at the Second Baptist Church. And that's the disgraceful truth. Disgraceful truth, shameful truth. Cornelia Scott says that some new women have been admitted into the association recently. These women are really worthless. They did not have any social status. They are strongly against me. These people are not welcome in any respectable places. Second Baptist Church, it is a Protestant sect. So Cornelia further says, there are two chapters of the Confederate Daughters in the city of Meridian. There are two chapters, two branches of daughters, Confederate Daughters in the city of Meridian. The forest chapter, one is the forest chapter, which is for social riffraff, women of low social status, riffraff. Such women are the members of this forest chapter. Those women who are worthless, who don't have any good social status. And another chapter where I am a member, it is women of distinction, important, respectable women who have a good social status. So there are two such chapters of the organization. One is the forest chapter. So the women who are inferior, such women are the members of this chapter. And the other one, which admits women of distinction, women of high social status, like me. That's what she means. Then the phone rings. So that is a call, much expected call from her friend, Miss Cornelia Scott. Cornelia into the phone. Are you upstairs now, dear? Well, I wondered. It took you so long to call back. But I thought you said the luncheon was over. Luncheon is a formal lunch. Formal lunch. Luncheon. Is the luncheon over? I am glad that you fortified yourself with a bit to eat. What did the buffet consist of? She is very anxious to know about the food that was served in the meeting. What does the buffet consist of? Chicken a la king. Is there this item? Chicken a la king. That's so characteristic of poor Amelia, with bits of pimiento and tiny mushrooms in it. Pimiento is a sweet pepper. Does it have pimiento and mushrooms as ingredients? What did the ladies counting their calories do? Did all the ladies eat well? What about the ladies who are very careful about reducing their weight? Did they eat properly or nibbled around the edges? Nibble. Nibble means take bits, eat by bits. I suppose there was lemon sherbet with lady fingers. Is this item lemon sherbet with lady fingers? What lime sherbet? No lady fingers. So she says it is shameful, it is an apostasy, breach of faith, apostasy, breach of faith, breach of trust. I am quite stunned. What do they discuss? Is the voting over? Now they won't take the vote for at least half an hour. After half an hour, it is time to vote. Now, Esmeralda, I do hope that you understand my position clearly. I don't wish to hold any office in the chapter unless it is by acclamation. Acclamation means unanimous approval. Unanimous approval. I will hold any position. I will hold any office in the association only if it is given by acclamation. Without any election, by unanimous approval, then only I will hold any position. I am not for contesting. Only if I am nominated to that position, I will accept it. This is my stand. I am making my position clear. You know what that means, don't you? It is a parliamentary term. This acclamation is a parliamentary term. It is just as simple as that. As I have served as treasurer